What's going on, arcade nerds? It's been a while since I've done a video. I've had a lot of other things I had to do that kind of pushed arcade stuff to the side. And, well, for example, I'm buying a house that I'm going to rent out someday, I hope. And so I had to sell a bunch of things to raise some money and whatever. And then I've been fixing the house and so on. So anyways, I've had a long time that I've been not doing the stuff I want to do, arcade stuff, you know. Anyways, I'm sorry to the Patreon guys that I've been so long. You guys are the most important to me because you guys are like paying to see videos. That's crazy, and I appreciate that. But anyways, long story short, someone sent me a Black Widow board. Actually, they sent it to a tech, and the tech had it for several months, and they couldn't get it working, or they never started on it. I don't really know the whole ordeal. So anyways, long story short, it's been sent to me to try to figure out what's going on and send it back. This is a Gravatar / Black Widow PCB. But I can tell you right now, someone has worked on it for sure. And why do I say that? Because on the ROMs, I don't know if you can see it or not, there's a little dab of paint on the corner of the ROMs. I do this myself, and this is what people do, and not everyone does this, but I do this myself. Whenever you test something good, you put a little corner on the edge of the chip, so you know that's good. And if you start getting stumped and whatever, you're like, okay, well, I know these are good, I know these are good, I know these are good, and then it's a process of elimination. If it doesn't have a mark on it, is it good? Let's test it. We don't know. And I also noticed someone put a 12 megahertz crystal on here. That is totally fine. You can do that. But the original crystal was 12.096 megahertz, not 12 megahertz even. And that's okay. You can do that. But it'll be just a fraction slower, the gameplay. But, you know, no one would ever really notice. So someone has been messing with this. Someone has marked the AVG chip good, I imagine. Here's something else. You never want to trust someone else's work. So I'm going to get into all this stuff. We're going to find out what the hell is going on. Since obviously someone marked every chip. So let's get into this board and let's see what's going on. Now, as you can see on my workbench, I have this rat's nest of wires coming out. Okay, over here is a meter, so I can see the voltage. Right here is the sound amplifier, -5, -12, +12 ground, +5. These are common voltages that you might need to fix boards, okay? Especially Atari vector boards. Oh, also another reason I haven't done any videos for a while is because my camera broke. I had to fix my camera. My camera has seen better days. I'm trying to manipulate my camera now. My camera has seen better days. It's falling apart. But anyways, okay, so first thing I'm going to do is let's connect all the power to it. One cool thing about these Atari boards is all the terminals, the necessary voltages and so on, there are terminals on the board, so I don't have to make an edge connector to make it work. Okay, well, I can test the fundamentals of this board. There is other things that the edge connector would be helpful for, but for now I'm just going to put the voltages into this to make this work. So anyways, right now I have these little connectors just like this, and I'm going to give it 5 volts. There's a 5 volt terminal right here. And here I have a ground. I'm going to give that a ground. All these terminals are labeled on these Ataris. Okay. And I have plus 12. But you may say, hey, there's plus and minus 15 volts on this board. You can't run it with plus 12. Yes, you can. So I'm going to put plus 12 where my plus 15 volt terminal is. And I'm going to put negative 12 where my, if I could see, the camera's right in my way, the negative 15 volt terminal is. And I believe that's it. Oh, let me go over here. Let's grab audio, and I'm going to put it off audio 1 right there. Okay. So now that all that's connected, we have our logic probe. I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to connect my ground to ground, and the red here to plus 5. Okay, now we almost have a whole test rig. At this point, we can actually test and diagnose issues, but let's take it a step even further. Let's connect our scope. Now on my scope, I have an X on one of these right here. And I'm going to put that on X out. Right there. Okay. And one of these I'm going to ground on a nice handy ground terminal. Right here. And the other one is Y out. So let's go ahead and put Y here. Now, my workbench is kind of a mess here, but you can see I have a little scope set up right here now. Okay. So, boy, this camera's right in my face. Okay, so now I'm going to plug in my power. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is check the clock. Somewhere there should be a 7404 chip or something like that. Here's some counters right next to it, probably around the counters. No clock. No clock. Somewhere around the processor there should be some labeled terminals. For example, this says 6 megahertz right here. I have no clock. That's awesome. That's awesome. I like when you have no clock. It's usually an easy fix. Okay, so right off the bat, we know that we have no clock, and that would probably explain why someone replaced the clock chip. So usually there's a 74 LSO4 inverter chip or something like that that inverts and then puts the signal right back into the clock chip, the crystal, to repeat the frequency. I don't know, maybe there's this transistor. Ooh, what is that? That sounds odd. It's like a weak. Now it's solid. Interesting. This transistor might be part of what they're using instead of a 74 LSO4. Okay, let's look at the schematics and let's see what's really going on. Okay, we have the schematics loaded up. Now keep in mind, Black Widow and Gravitar are both the exact same circuit board. So we can look at schematics from either one. But I did end up getting the Black Widow schematic. And as you can see, right here is that crystal. That's supposed to be 12.096 that someone replaced with the 12 megahertz. And it goes through, here's some capacitors, but what it does is it goes to this 3904, and that 3904 is dead. So let's pull the 3904, let's test it, or let's just replace it. It's just a cheap 3904. They cost pennies. And let's see what happens. And if we still do not have a clock after I replace that transistor, let's go ahead and replace the crystal too. So let's pull out that 3904. Okay. So right here is that 3904 transistor. Just going to add a little solder right there. And going to use my desoldering iron. And let's go ahead and pull it. Okay, let me hang that up. Okay. There it is. And here is the 3904. So, you know what? I could do a quick test, but screw it. Let's just put a brand new 3904 in. I got them. Let's just do it. Okay, I replaced the 3904 and still no clock. So, just for giggles, I'm going to pull this crystal. I'm going to replace it with a new one. Also, this is also the incorrect frequency, but it's close enough to get this to work. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get 2 perler beads and put that underneath it like that. Why? I'll tell you why. Because on the bottom of this crystal there is metal, and if that metal were to touch traces, it could stop the function of the crystal. So I'd rather put a little spacer on it like that so it can't short itself out. Now I suppose you could leave it hanging up a little bit, but then it's just something to bend around. I don't know. Not a fan of that. But okay, so I'm going to pick up on this. And let me remove that just for giggles. Let's flip this over. And I'm right there in the way. There we go. Okay. Like something is irritating my throat right now. Okay, so let me get this crystal and put it in the bottom. Now it's a new crystal that someone put in before, so hey, I don't know, but I might as well go through all sources. Okay. Okay. So let's plug it in, and let me get my cutters. I should probably give it a good look over, see what else, if anything, I'm missing. Interesting. Okay. Let me zoom out here. Let's flip this over. And for now, I'm not going to connect, get rid of that old transistor. I'm only going to connect 5 volt and ground, because that's all I need to get that oscillator to work. And of course I put the board like upside down. But okay, so let's just hook up 5 volts. And let's just hook up ground. Only that, and that's it. Now, my probe fell on the ground. Okay. Okay, I'm going to connect my probe leads. And Kelly, can you plug it in? I'm sitting on a chair right now. It's the white cord. Okay. I got nothing. 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 Okay, so let me take a look at that clock circuit a little better and let's see what's going on. Okay, we are back to the clock circuit. Now, as you can see, I bumped the camera. The transistor I replaced is right here. The crystal I replaced is right here. Now, I used my scope to probe my probe to probe this, right? Well, my probe will detect TTL levels, which means 5 volt, 0, 5 volt. You know what I mean? So it's a possibility that I do have a pulse, but I can't detect it. And it goes to this 74 LSO4 right here at location F3, and this inverts the signal. So it's possible that this is too weak of a signal for me to detect it. So I'm going to, I suppose I can check pin 10, but I know I don't have a pulse. I know I don't have a clock anywhere on the board. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the 74 LSO4 at F3 and let's put it in my chip tester and let's see what we get. Okay, this is the 74 LSO4 at F3 that I was talking about. I desoldered the chip, and one thing I want to point out, something that might help you guys out, is I desoldered it and I'm going to gently push each pin. You hear that little click? You hear that? It may not all click, but sometimes they do. Little push. Don't go crazy, don't scratch your board. Just a little push on each pin. You don't have to bend the pins. Okay? And I like to give a little twist, back and forth. A little gentle twist. And pull the chip right out. Okay, so let me stick this in the chip tester. Okay, it says 74 LS14. That is basically the same pinout as the 74 LSO4. This tester is a little wonky like that, but that would suggest this chip is good, because you could substitute a 74 LS14 in the place of a 7404. So that would suggest this chip is good. So let me put a socket back in this, and we'll put that chip right back where we found it. Okay, so far I've tested all the resistors, I've tested all the capacitors, and I've tested the inductor. All test good. And we have a new crystal and a new 2N3904. But we still have no clock. And this capacitor, I really don't care. You could clip it off. You don't really need it. Okay, so this doesn't matter. I'm not even going to bother. As long as it's not shorted, we're good. So I'm a little stumped here. I'm wondering what the heck's going on. I did look over the board really well. There's no traces. It's very simple in that section. There's no traces that are broken. So I think I'm going to, I never really seen a bad brand new crystal, but once in a great while you have a bad brand new transistor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test that transistor, and if it's bad, I'm just going to put a new one in, see what happens. Okay, we are getting closer. It looks like I was barking up the wrong tree again. Okay, now remember how we tested all this stuff and we went to the inverter and said, hey, there's nothing coming out of pin 10, so this isn't going to work, right? Well, let me show you something. Well, by the way, pin 10 comes out, and right here's your 12 megahertz, okay? And this is before it's divided down by any counters, okay? What this does normally is it goes to this 193 counter chip, and it's divided down to other frequencies, like 1.5 megahertz, 3 megahertz, and 6 megahertz, okay? Well, let me show you something. Here is that 7404, right? Well, I pulled pin 10 out of the socket, and so it's just hanging outside the socket right here. You see that? Now, I have a pulse. So, that is telling me that, let me go back over to the screen here. That's telling me, let me zoom out, that something is getting it stuck down. And my first guess is E4, this 193 counter. So let me pull this counter and let's see if we can fix it. 74 LS 193 fault. Okay, same thing here. I'm gonna bend these out, just the corners, just so the chip stays there, or the socket stays there, I should say. I lost myself. Where am I? Here we go. Yep. Camera is right in my face. Can't tell if I'm making good joints or not. I'll look at it when the camera is out of the way. Okay, so yeah, good enough. No, it's not. I want more. I want better. So I see that one. Where am I at? Now I lost it because I'm looking at the wrong angle again. Okay, so now I gotta find a 193. The problem is I don't have them, I don't think. I'm gonna have to steal one off another board. I have 190, 191, but I think the 191 has like a one pin that's different. So I'm gonna have to go steal 193 off of some sort of board. We have a clock. Move this over here. See it? So, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to treat this. I'm going to do all the simple things first. Yes, I know someone marked these as if they're good and so on, but I don't trust nobody. I don't trust nobody's work. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to, first things first, is, let me straighten my pins. I'm going to plug in my AVG chip. I'm going to pull that out. By the way, right here's your reset tab. And I was getting a reset signal. So this board was resetting. It's stuck in a reset loop. So I'm just going to throw in a known working AVG chip. Okay, so let's turn it back on again. And we still have a reset. Okay, but I'm gonna leave this there. Now what am I gonna do? I'm just gonna mess with everything socketed first. We have some 4016 RAM chip here, 4016 RAM chip here. I'm gonna go ahead and pull both of those. Okay, and let's throw these on the RAM tester. And let's actually, those legs, they're okay. They're not the greatest, but they're okay. So let's test the RAM and see what happens. There's a good one. Another good one. Okay. This is a great RAM tester. I highly suggest it. It's Neolock. This is the old version. Now they sell one with blades that stick in the back, and they test many more things like PIA chips and things like that. But okay, so we know our RAM is good. It's one thing we're going to eliminate. I want to try to eliminate everything socketed before we move any further forward. Okay, so now that we know the RAM is good, I'm going to go ahead and pull all these ROMs. We're going to test every single ROM in the programmer, and we're going to verify that every single ROM is good. Now, like I said, I see someone has a marking on it on each chip, and you know, maybe they are good, maybe they're tested good, but I want to know that they're good myself before I go, you know, on. And then I'm going to pull both Pokies. These are the Pokey chips, and I'm going to test them in an already working board to make sure that they're not causing any reset. Okay, and then I'm going to test the processor in a known working board to verify that. And so once we're done, we'll know that everything socketed on this board is working first before we start diving any further. Okay, so I'm going to go to my EEPROM program, and let's make it bigger just so we can kind of see what's won't go any bigger on Windows here. Okay, so I'm going to select 2532 because that's the type of chip this is. So I'm going to type in 2532. Dip switch settings are the same. It requires the adapter. So I'm going to put my adapter in. And this chip, first let's go into the program. Set path, I mean. So it's under a directory called bwidow for me. And this is chip 136017, 136017, and it's 110. So I'm going to load that. Okay, so now it's loaded in the buffer. And put my chip in. And let's compare device with buffer, that is 8. Already have errors. Boom. Okay. So, geez, that's the first chip I grabbed. Okay, let me check some more of these chips and let's see what happens. Okay, well, we have 3 chips that are bad. So, remember what I said, don't trust anyone else's work. For all we know, these were marked good 20 years ago. I have no idea. So I have some loose 2532 chips, and I'm going to go ahead and try to reprogram these, because these could have died from bit rot, or who knows what. I'm going to try to save the label. We'll see. Yeah, I'm going to try to save the label. I'll put that aside. And so I can put them back on so it doesn't look too awful. These ones, who knows what they are. I'm just going to go ahead and razor blade off the label and so on. But, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in my EEPROM eraser and let them sit there for 5 to 10 minutes, you know, once they're in there. And then we'll erase them, and then I'll program new chips, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, Kelly is walking around upstairs and she is testing the pokies in a working game of ours just to make sure they work. I went ahead and I was able to save the stickers, but this one I screwed up a little bit. But hey, it's, you know, I just kind of like to leave it look original. It's not a big deal, but here's something interesting. When I removed the pokies, look at this. Whoever removed these pokies at one point, they got the screwdriver underneath it and actually cracked the socket. Although it's not, the socket is not really damaged. I mean, just for giggles, I will test it. But the socket, I don't think, is the issue here. So Kelly's gonna go up there and test the pokies. I need to give her the processor also. So I'm gonna run upstairs, give her the processor to also test in something, just to make sure. Okay, so far we now know that all socketed chips are indeed good. Okay, so I ran a jumper from ground to watchdog disable. When I turn it on, the CPU side is humming away. Okay, but vector center is stuck. We have a halt. The halt flag circuit is stuck. I also checked the 1.5 megahertz clock. That's there. The 6 megahertz clock, the 3 megahertz clock, and the 12 megahertz clock are all there. So since we know that we have a halt and the vector center is stuck, we have a problem with the vector side. So odds are this side's good, but we have a problem over here. So let me look at the schematics a little bit and do a little bit of probing and see what we can find. Okay, this is where we're at right now. This is the AVG chip. Okay, this is a decoder. Now we have a clock. We're at this guy right here at the 74, but we have no pulse at all at strobe 0, and we know the AVG is good. So I'm going to replace H7, this decoder right here, and let's see what happens. Okay, we have a screen. Now, keep in mind that spot killer is not activated right now. The spot is on all the time. That's why you see some of these extra lines and so on. So let me show you what I did. Okay, there was a bunch of stuck bits, strobe and so on, and so I replaced this 4-2, and it didn't do anything. And I just kept finding stuck bits, and while I'm probing around, this chip seemed kind of hot. This is the PROM, and so I just for giggles. Now this gets hot normally to some degree, a little warm, you know, but it seemed a little hotter than I wanted it to be. So I went ahead and I just swapped the PROM just to see what would happen, and boom, it's back to life. So, long story short, we have 3 bad ROMs and 1 bad PROM. So that's good. Now, I noticed on the screen there's a little bit of a wiggle. Did you see it? And I'm not sure if... I'm going to plug it into a regular Black Widow, and we'll see how that works. The original machine. It's kind of odd to see that wiggle. I don't know if it's because I'm running it with plus and minus 12 volts instead of plus and minus 15 volts, or what. Normally I would replace the two capacitors that are in the filter circuit, but that would be if I seen a wiggle like that. But that would be if we're feeding AC into it. I'm feeding clean DC voltage into that, although it may be lower than the required voltage. So I don't know, let's plug it into a Black Widow and let's see what the screen looks like then. Houston, we have a problem. Shut this off so I don't burn the screen. I brought it upstairs, ran for a while. I mean, I don't know, I left it running for about 40 minutes or so, and Now it's dead again. Which, this ultimately just upsets me. Honestly. I'm getting tired. I'm ready to go to bed. And this damn thing, takes a crap. Well, anyways, so, we're pretty much right back to where we were. Vector center is stuck. And let me remove the watchdog disable. And we're definitely resetting again. Proms seem to be warmer than I'd like them to be. But we're right back to... Oh, damn it, man! Anyways, right here is the state machine prom I was talking about. This is the original. I swapped it and that was what finally got it going. And now we're back to it not working again. So, I don't know, I'm ready to... It's not my board, but I'm ready to snap it over my knee. I mean, okay, for example, you may not know this in TV land, but, I mean, I messed with this board for like 4 hours to figure out what it finally was. So, I'm just upset. I'm a little down on this now. It did work. But I suppose if... Man. Okay, so... I don't know. Let me probe around some more. Maybe it's something stupid. I did all the basics. Like while it was running, I went ahead and just jiggled some of the sockets and stuff. It's not a connection. It literally developed another problem. So, you know, sometimes that's just how it is. But okay, let me probe around a little bit more. Well, I probed around a little more, and you know, my halt line is high and so on. Anyways, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to come back to it tomorrow or another day with a clean mind, because I'm just kind of pissed that I had it and now it's dead. So I guess I'm going to cut the video off here. Maybe I will do another video of me coming back to this, or I might just send it back to the guy and tell him I'm sorry. It depends. You know, I told this guy that I would charge him $150, and I even promised, don't worry, I'll get it working. And damn it, I'm just at the moment I'm just a little shot down. That's all. If this was my own machine, if this was my own Black Widow, I wouldn't stop for nothing, because I want my machines working. But the drive to make $150 is kind of not as big as the drive to get my own games working. Does that make sense? So, and besides, you know, I already spent, we're talking like 4 hours on this thing, and I don't know, at some point, you know, you kind of gotta let it go. So, I don't know, we'll see how I feel about it later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this. I'm going to call this a huge failure, and we'll move on to the next thing. I have some Sega Vectors that I need to get working. Sega Vector boards. Maybe I'll make another video. That's what I'll do. The next video, I'm going to work on some Sega Vector boards, and we'll see what we can get going there. Right now, I got a guy texting me. He's sending me files. I'm designing a test pattern generator for vector monitors, and it's going to be way better than the one that's on the market now for $200, and I hope to sell it for like 20 bucks, just because it's ridiculous to pay $200 for a test pattern generator, and I think one can be built for $20. So I hope to get that done and start selling those. And you know, I have other things I want to do. Plus, today I gotta go do some more drywall on this house I just bought. So I don't know. This is bottom of my priority list. It does bother me. I hate when things don't go well on these boards. But whatever. Honestly, I feel terrible. I feel terrible. Anyways, I will revisit this later, or I will give up, one or the other. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and the next video will probably be me working on Sega Vector boards. Have a good one, guys. Don't forget to subscribe.